What if I told you there's a car so powerful, it was never meant to touch public roads? A machine built for one purpose, to destroy the drag strip. No comfort, no luxury, no mercy. And here's the twist, it's rarer than a Ferrari Enzo. This is the story of the 1966 Dodge Coronet W023 Hemi, the untamed beast born for speed. In the golden era of American muscle, Dodge wasn't just building cars, they were building weapons. The mid-1960s saw fierce competition on drag strips across the US, and Dodge wanted absolute domination. To achieve it, they took an ordinary Coronet and turned it into something extraordinary, a factory-built racer that blurred the line between street and strip. It wasn't a car you could order from a brochure. It was a car you earned through racing connections. Under the hood sat the legendary 426 cubic inch Hemi V8, famously nicknamed the Elephant Engine for its size and brute strength. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, but everyone knew the truth, it made closer to 500. This wasn't marketing hype, this was raw engineering muscle. Dodge engineers stripped the Coronet down to the essentials. They replaced steel parts with lightweight aluminum, the hood, the fenders, even the bumpers. The interior? Gone. No radio, no heater, no back seats, just bare metal and a steering wheel. Even the glass was made thinner to shed precious pounds. Only 55 units were ever hand-built, and every single one had a single mission, to win drag races. Each car was delivered straight to professional racers who represented Dodge at NHRA events. They weren't designed for showrooms, they were built for victory. When it hit the track, the W023 Hemi was unstoppable. It could tear through the quarter mile in about 10.5 seconds, with trap speeds exceeding 130 miles per hour in 1966. That made it one of the quickest production-based cars of its time. Spectators would see it launch off the line, front wheels in the air, tires screaming, exhaust thunder echoing through the stands. It was pure mechanical violence, and people loved it. While the Ferrari Enzo became a symbol of exclusivity decades later, the Coronet W023 represented something raw and fearless. It was American engineering with no filters, power over polish, performance over prestige. Out of the 55 made, fewer than 40 are known to exist today, making it several times rarer than the Enzo's 400 units. Collectors would trade fortunes just to own one, not because it's beautiful, but because it's real. The 1966 Dodge Coronet W023 Hemi wasn't about luxury or style, it was about domination. It didn't whisper, it roared. It didn't ask for respect, it demanded it. Cue engine rumble fading in. That's the 426 Hemi, deep, brutal, and unforgettable. A sound that could make the ground shake and hearts race. Because while Ferrari built elegance for the elite, Dodge built fury for the fearless. And that's why th. The early 1970s were a turning point for American performance cars. Rising insurance rates, emission laws, and the oil crisis were choking the life out of the muscle car scene. But before the fire went out, Pontiac unleashed one final masterpiece, a car that embodied everything wild, rebellious, and untamed about the golden age of speed. The 1971 GTO Judge was the farewell salute of pure muscle, and it left its mark in history forever. Under its aggressive lines lay a monster, the 455 cubic inch high-output V8, producing around 335 horsepower and an earth-shaking 480 lb-ft of torque. It might sound modest today, but in 1971, that kind of raw, naturally aspirated power could shred tires in seconds. The Judge wasn't just an engine, it was an attitude. It came in wild, high-impact colors like Orbit Orange and Cardinal Red, with giant The Judge decals that screamed confidence. It was a muscle car with personality, bold, loud, and unashamedly American. But by 1971, the world was changing. Pontiac knew the end was near for high-horsepower machines, and that's what made this car so special. Only 17 convertible versions of the 1971 GTO Judge were ever produced. 17. To put that in perspective, Ferrari built 400 Enzos. That makes the Judge convertible nearly 24 times rarer than an Enzo. Each of those 17 cars carried the heart of a dying breed, a massive 455 HO engine paired with either a 4-speed manual or turbo 400 automatic. They had functional ram air scoops on the hood that gulped air straight into the beast below. It wasn't about finesse or elegance, it was brute American muscle trying to survive in a world turning soft. Behind the wheel, it was all vibration, sound, and adrenaline. No traction control, no electronics, just a steering wheel, a shifter, and the roar of 8 cylinders demanding respect. When you stepped on the gas, it didn't just move, it launched. You didn't drive the Judge, you held on and hoped it liked you that day. Collectors today see it as the holy grail of Pontiacs. Each surviving car is worth millions, not just because it's rare, but because it represents the end of an era when Detroit built cars with soul, power, and pride. The 1969 AMC AMX was more than a muscle car, it was a statement of defiance from one of America's smallest automakers. At a time when giants like Ford and Chevrolet dominated the streets, AMC decided to build something radically different. They didn't want another family coupe or a budget car, they wanted a machine that would earn respect at the drag strip and turn heads wherever it went. The result was the AMX, short, sleek, and surprisingly compact. Unlike its competitors, the AMX was a 2-seater, making it the only American production sports car of its time besides the Chevrolet Corvette. That alone set it apart. It wasn't built for families or comfort, it was built purely for driving pleasure and raw performance. Under its sculpted hood sat AMC's most powerful engine, the 390 cubic inch V8, delivering a thunderous 315 horsepower and 425 lb-ft of torque. That might not sound wild by today's standards, but back in 1969, this power in such a small, lightweight body was explosive. The AMX could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.7 seconds and reach a top speed close to 130 miles per hour. The car's design reflected its purpose, muscular yet minimal. The long hood, short rear deck, and wide stance gave it an aggressive, ready-to-strike look. Every curve served a function, every angle whispered performance. It wasn't overloaded with chrome or flashy luxury, it was tight, focused, and athletic. The interior was simple but sporty, with twin bucket seats, a driver-focused dashboard, and racing-style gauges that wrapped around the cockpit. AMC offered the AMX in some of the most eye-catching colors of the era, wild tones like Big Bad Orange, Big Bad Blue, and Big Bad Green. These weren't just paint jobs, they were statements of attitude. The AMX wasn't trying to blend in, it was built to be noticed. While other brands spent millions on advertising, AMC relied on passion and authenticity. They even brought in Craig Breedlove, the world land speed record holder, to test and promote the AMX. Breedlove drove it at 200 miles per hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats, proving the car's strength wasn't just marketing, it was real. On the drag strip, the AMX was a surprise assassin. It regularly beat larger, heavier muscle cars thanks to its light body and huge torque. Its short wheelbase made it quick off the line and perfect for tight handling. Racers loved it, and collectors soon realized they were seeing something rare, something built not to follow, but to lead. Only 8,293 AMXs were built in 1969, and many were lost over time to racing and neglect. Today, only a small number remain, making it rarer than many exotic cars, including the Ferrari Enzo, which had 400 units. Yet, unlike those polished Italian machines, the AMX carries a rough-edged charm, a heartbeat of rebellion that never fades. It was the kind of car that didn't need validation from Europe or approval from the elite. It simply existed to prove that a small American company could build a car. The 1965 Shelby GT350 wasn't built for comfort, or luxury, or even everyday driving. It was built to dominate. When Carroll Shelby looked at the Ford Mustang, he didn't see a stylish cruiser, he saw potential. Potential to turn a nice American pony car into a world-class racing weapon. What came out of his California workshop was unlike anything else on the road. It was lighter, louder, sharper, and faster, a machine designed to win. Under the hood sat the 289 cubic inch Hypa V8 engine, tuned by Shelby's crew to produce a ferocious 306 horsepower. That number might sound modest today, but in 1965, it was enough to transform the Mustang into a track monster. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and a race-ready suspension, the GT350 could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 6.5 seconds, making it one of the fastest American cars of its era. But straight-line speed wasn't the only thing Shelby wanted. He built the GT350 to handle corners like a European sports car. The suspension was completely re-engineered, stiffer springs, heavy-duty shocks, and upgraded brakes. The steering was razor-sharp, and the rear end featured traction bars to keep the power planted. Every movement of the car felt tight, alive, and mechanical, no filters, no computers, just raw connection between driver and machine. The body itself told a story of function over form. The car wore its racing stripes like battle scars, its side exhausts roaring with unrestrained fury. The hood scoop wasn't for looks, it forced air into the engine for maximum breathing power. Inside, luxury was stripped away. No rear seat, no unnecessary trim. Just a roll bar, racing belts, and the sound of that V8 echoing through an uninsulated cabin. It was pure race engineering disguised as a street car. Every GT350 was hand-built at Shelby American's Los Angeles facility. The cars arrived from Ford as plain white Mustangs, and Shelby's team transformed them into track-ready warriors. They modified the suspension, tuned the engines, and even removed the mufflers on early models to save weight and unleash the car's signature growl. Each one felt slightly different, because each one was built by human hands, not mass-produced, but crafted. The 1965 GT350 wasn't just fast, it won. It dominated the Sports Car Club of America's B production racing class, taking home the national championship in its debut year. Drivers called it the car that could do it all: drag race, road race, and still drive home afterward. It set a new standard for American performance, proving that American muscle could match and sometimes beat the best from Europe. Only 562 GT350s were built in 1965, and fewer still in the special-purpose GT350 or competition version, just 36 units ever made. Those models were even more extreme, stripped to the bone and tuned for maximum performance. They had fiberglass body parts, racing slicks, and engines pushing beyond factory ratings. The 1965 Shelby GT350 was the purest expert. The 1970 Ford Mustang Boss 302 was more than just another pony car, it was a precision-built racing weapon in streetcar form. Ford wanted a car that could dominate the Trans Am series, and they didn't just tweak a Mustang, they transformed it into a finely tuned, high-revving, corner-carving machine capable of challenging the best sports cars in the world. Under the long hood roared the 302 cubic inch V8, specially designed for high RPM performance. With roughly 290 horsepower at a screaming 6,500 revolutions per minute, it wasn't about raw brute force alone, it was about revving, responsiveness, and control. Every component was engineered to withstand sustained track abuse, from the reinforced engine mounts to the heavy-duty cooling system. This wasn't a car that would complain under pressure, it thrived in it. The Boss 302's suspension was a masterpiece of engineering. Unlike the standard Mustang, it had a stiffened chassis, front and rear sway bars, and especially tuned suspension geometry to handle aggressive cornering. The car hugged curves like a race car, with minimal body roll and maximum traction, making it one of the few muscle cars of its era that could genuinely dominate road courses. Ford engineers didn't just want speed in a straight line, they wanted balance, precision, and confidence at every turn. The body itself was a statement of function and aggression. The Boss 302 wore a distinctive hockey stick side stripe, bold front chin spoiler, and a rear deck spoiler that wasn't just cosmetic, it improved high-speed stability. Wide tires filled the fender wells, and the stance was lower and wider than the standard Mustang, giving it a planted, purposeful look. Inside, the cockpit was simple but purposeful, designed for the driver: bucket seats, a centered tachometer, and manual shifter within easy reach. There was no luxury, no fluff, just focus, control, and raw racing energy. Every detail of the Boss 302 was engineered with the track in mind. The 4-speed manual transmission allowed the driver to exploit the high-revving V8 fully, keeping the engine in its power band for maximum performance. Lightweight materials were used wherever possible, including thinner steel panels and minimal interior insulation, all aimed at reducing weight without compromising structural integrity. On the track, the Boss 302 earned its reputation. It could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 6.5 seconds, but its true strength was in cornering and maintaining momentum. In the Trans Am series, it faced off against heavier European sports cars and came out victorious thanks to its perfect balance of power, agility, and handling. It wasn't just fast, it was engineered to win. Production numbers were low, only 7,013 units were built for the 1970 model year, and among those, certain color and options combinations are extremely rare today. That scarcity, combined with its racing pedigree and high-revving engine, makes the Boss 302 a highly sought-after collector car. Th.